All new episodes of Game Graveyard. Weekdays on RatedEm.
On today's episode of Game Chat, Legendary, Meccha Chameleon, and Quake 3 Arena.
Hello everyone and welcome to Game Chat, the series where I break from these scripted videos to give my casual thoughts on what I've been playing recently. Now originally I wanted to discuss two more. Isn't this how last episode started, where I talked about how I wanted to cut 2 games from this episode? Oh my fucking god. Okay, anyways, I was originally going to talk about Arkham Knight and Doom Eternal in this episode as well. Arkham Knight being a game I just wanted to revisit for fun, and then Doom Eternal being a game I didn't really like when it initially released, and I wanted to give it another shot. But I had so much to say about these 2 games, this episode would have been at least 30 minutes long in total. This series isn't meant to be a definitive review show, nor is it supposed to be longer than the main content that I do. It's just supposed to be hey, here's a few cool games that I want to showcase for at maximum 10 minutes. However, I'm pretty confident in what I have to say about these games, so I think it's just time that I get my ass in gear and build the RatedEm website, and I'll just post my opinions on there. I don't want to make game review style videos because I feel like it just attracts a bitter, argumentative crowd that I just don't want to be a part of. So the videos can stay as retrospective historical content that I'm currently doing, and I'll just post my reviews, or I guess my opinions. They're not even full-on reviews, on the RatedEm blog whenever I get around to making it. I'll also post channel update stuff there, maybe my thoughts on gaming news. The website's just kind of going to be a replacement of Twitter for me because I don't use Twitter anymore because it's a toxic cesspool. Whenever the RatedEm website goes live, it'll be its own video, so you won't miss it, but yeah, 2 segments got axed for this episode, but if you really care about what I have to say about those 2 games, you'll be able to read up on my opinions soon enough. Okay, preface out of the way, let's jump into the episode's first game, Legendary. Now this is one of those offshoot, AA, single A games from the piss filter gaming era. I had never heard of this game before I saw someone's review on it, and I thought I'd try it out for myself because the guy doing the review was just ragging on it, and I'm okay, it cannot be that bad. And no, Legendary really isn't that bad. It's far from perfect, but it's not bad at all. If anything, this game does some stuff that modern games wouldn't dare to do. Firstly though, I want to get 2 important things out of the way. One is that there's a ton of important story stuff that you need to know before you start a new save file, and rather than just being an intro cutscene, it's a separate option on the main menu to watch this animated video that gives you a ton of necessary backstory. I do think this is annoying, and I think it's a weird decision. Secondly, although I don't hate the music in this game, I did shut it off during my playtime with the game, and it drastically changed the tone for me. I think I thought of this game much more positively by just shutting the music off entirely. And we'll get to tone and atmosphere in a second, but I just want to state that first. Okay, jumping into my thoughts, I like the premise. Pandora's box is real, it gets opened up in the present day, and now all these mythological creatures are entering our modern world. It's an awesome premise, I love it. It is a very generic first-person shooter. There's very few new concepts when it comes to actions you can make as a player, and the concepts that they did add could have been expanded upon. However, the enemies in this game are unique, and that's where some of the variation in gameplay comes from. There's this enemy that rolls towards you, and you can use this energy blast from your hand to push them away before they get close. There's these flying little sprites where you have to avoid their attacks while they're invulnerable, and then when they're done attacking, they go into a vulnerable state where you can one-shot them. There's werewolves that won't die unless you select your axe weapon and actually melee their head off. In a modern game, this would have just been some shit oh, press R3 to execute. It would have been a pre-made animation. Every enemy feels really notable and really different from another. My other favorite thing about this game is that it's very show, don't tell when it comes to the devastation caused by these creatures. Near the beginning, when New York is being terrorized by all these monsters, people are screaming for their lives and begging for help when they get grabbed and torn apart by griffins and werewolves. And none of it's cutscenes. Well, I shouldn't say none of it, but a majority of it is not cutscenes. It all happens right in front of you in the game world. It gives this very War of the Worlds style horror feeling where humanity is just completely and utterly powerless against the forces beyond their understanding. It's honestly scary. I did not know that I enjoyed this type of horror, and I think this game showed it to me. And this is where my opinion would have changed had I had the music on. Sure, the soundtrack is good, but if I had it on, it would have completely eliminated that horror feeling that I got from these set pieces. If I had the soundtrack on, I would have seen someone get carried away by a griffin, and I'd be ooh, Hate to be that guy, but I think turning the music off and having nothing to drown out his blood-curdling screams and cries out for help, it really gives it a different feeling. I find that there's only really cutscenes at the start of levels or at the end, or I think there are cutscenes like in the middle of gameplay, but I think they're in replacement of loading screens. Regardless, like I said, a majority of this stuff that I'm talking about, that I'm seeing, happens in real time. And it's so much more immersive when a griffin crashes through the window and I physically like hold the S key back on my keyboard to back my character up, rather than just watching a cutscene where I have no control. I really do love the interactivity and I guess the unintentional horror of this game, but unfortunately its gameplay is just another generic FPS. The magic hand I mentioned earlier doesn't really get utilized too much, and the guns are pretty basic. I think the game would have benefited from more gimmicky sci-fi weapons, or maybe like some mythological weapons thrown in there. The game is definitely a period piece of the piss filter Xbox 360, PS3 shooter era, but it's not as bad as I've seen it portrayed online. Legendary isn't a diamond in the rough, but it's maybe like a cool rock you found on the beach. Remember that time I said I just wanted Game Chat to be a show that highlights a few games I think are cool and not full-on reviews, and then I just gave a full-on review on the first game of the episode? Oh wait, that just happened. Next up is Meccha Chameleon, and I know that this game's been popular for a hot minute, but I'm just doing this video now, so sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It's good. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion though. It's a really simple premise, it's super replayable, I really like Meccha Chameleon. I've played it with a few different friend groups and it's been tons of fun. I've also played online, and that's where you get more of like the really annoying players, but I guess it's just any online experience. I was gonna go on a whole rant about how a lot of, I'm going to use a stupid term for this genre, but it's popular enough that you'll know what I'm talking about. I was going to go on a whole rant of how a lot of these friend slap games don't work for me, but Meccha Chameleon does. And this rant would have added like an extra 3 to 5 minutes onto this video that just did not need to be there, and a lot of it devolved into just this image, but I will state something from my initial draft that I think is worth keeping. Friend slap games don't really work for me because a lot of the humor is often forced, despite being a selling point, being like, oh, make your own funny moments with your friends. I just find that a lot of these games kind of spoon feed you the funny moments that you supposedly create. Meccha Chameleon makes me laugh when I spot my friend in like a really obvious hiding spot, rather than like Roadside Research, which was kind of like, oh, ha, funny wobbling ragdoll aliens, isn't this funny? And I'm just like, no. Again, this is such a nuanced topic that I just don't want to talk about right now, and maybe I'll leave it for the blog, I don't know, but I think Meccha Chameleon is one of the best of these smaller multiplayer games that I've played. I don't think I've had fun on these types of games since I played Content Warning, which was like a couple of years ago, and even then, I think that my opinion on that game has changed over time.
Need a new form of entertainment in your life? Join the thousands of others who have hit the subscribe button. Side effects of subscribing may include joy, laughter, and newfound knowledge about video games. Talk to your doctor about if subscribing is right for you.
You're watching Rated M. Don't touch that remote.
Finally, just a random one, but I unintentionally finished Quake 3. I bought this game a while ago, and similarly to Unreal Tournament, I was kind of just playing at my off time, you know, late at night. I didn't touch any online multiplayer or anything. I just went through the main campaign ladder, and soon enough, I had gone through all 7 tiers of the ladder without really meaning to. I thought that this game would have been way longer than it ended up being. So my overall thoughts, I don't really want to knock the legacy that Quake 3 has. I know this is a super important game in the overall history of first-person shooters, but I really enjoy Unreal Tournament 1999 and 04 much more than Quake 3. I think one of the biggest things for me is the aesthetic. I know that I said that UT kind of has this unique aesthetic where anything and everything goes, and I liked it for that, but Quake 3's aesthetic just seems really baseless and directionless. It's gothic, but it's also futuristic, but it's also cyberpunk-esque, and I think it's these aesthetics being mushed together but not being distinct enough from one another really just doesn't do it justice. Like, they didn't take the most different parts of these aesthetics and put them together. It's more like they found the most similar parts and put them together, and it just ends up looking really bland. I think it's also just an ugly looking game graphically. I think it's too mundane with its colors. There's very few character designs I actually find interesting. The guns just don't look right to me. Quake 3 is just not very good looking in my opinion, I'm sorry. And the weapons themselves are fine, I guess, because, like, I'm comparing to 2004 for simplicity's sake. The Link gun is just a lightning gun. Both games have rocket launchers. The lightning gun in UT04 is just the rail gun in Quake 3. They more or less have the same arsenal, so it's hard to say that the guns suck in Quake 3. However, Unreal Tournament's weapons all have an alt fire. The rocket launcher can lob multiple rockets out like grenades in 99. The shock rifle has its own thing going on. The minigun has 2 fire rates so you can kind of swap between as you're firing. So with every gun, you're almost getting a second weapon in a sense. Quake 3, however, the rocket launcher does one thing, the lightning gun does one thing, the shotgun does one thing, and personally it just flattens the gameplay for me and feels way less energetic than UT does. Also the maps, I don't like the maps in this game. The layouts are just not interesting, and as I said before, a lot of them tend to look the same. No offense to anyone who's a Quake 3 diehard, it's just I personally can't understand how you'd pick Quake 3 over Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament just has so much more sauce to it that just makes it stand out more. Anyways, that concludes another episode of Game Chat. I know the last episode I mentioned doing a Modern Warfare Trilogy episode, and I still want to do that, I just haven't played MW3 yet. Again, I mainly got caught up in Legendary, Arkham Knight, and Doom Eternal this month, but I have plans to get around to it soon. But that is it for this episode. I will see you all next time.
Check it out now. Yeah, check it out, yo.